Mike, looking back at the Clemson game last year with the weather, and obviously you're going into something similar this weekend. I know you guys, especially offensive linemen, are pretty much locked into what your responsibilities are. But what are some of the memories and thoughts of playing in those kind of conditions?
Well, like you said, it doesn't really change a whole lot for us up front. The grounds crews at those universities did a phenomenal job last year in terms of the playing surface. I don't know what it's like to handle a football in my hands in the middle of the rain and a monsoon like that, so I can't really speak to that. But in terms of up front, it really didn't change a whole lot, other than it was a little cooler and you didn't have to sweat as much. And so it doesn't really change a whole lot for me and us up front. And the memories I had is just trying to it's the same as every other football game. It's just a little cooler because there's a little extra added element to it.
Doesn't impact technique or anything as it relates to your responsibilities?
It didn't. The one experience we had last year with it at Clemson, everything I'll do is pretty much the same as long as I have my feet underneath me. I'll be okay, and the same for the other four guys up front with me.
Last week, obviously, our focus in dealing with you guys was on the defensive side of the ball because of the changes there. And again, you're probably going to give a similar answer to this, I guess, because you offensive linemen are so locked into their duties. But do you notice any changes in I guess the pace of practice or how things are done, especially with BK on the other side of the ball?
Well, I think the biggest change has been in the energy levels of practice. The last 2 weeks have been very fun times out on the practice field, and I think that is something that we definitely needed to get back to. You can tell when we go against the defense, the guys are flying around, guys are chatting, talking, and going back and forth with each other, and that's what we need. We need that competitive spirit. We need that fun mentality, and it's been a good thing to see over the last 2 weeks, especially with the defense, and it's just feeding off of each other now is pretty much what we needed to accomplish, and not having anybody let that energy go or let that energy down. And I think that it had a huge part of why we were successful last week. And I'm pretty confident that we have that same kind of energy and approach to this week, and it should do us a lot of good as well.
The NC State defensive line is pretty highly regarded. What have you seen from them, and what makes them highly regarded?
They're big boys up front. All four of them across the board are definitely bigger than anything we've seen so far this year collectively. They play very, very hard. They're very fundamentally and schematically sound, and they're well coached, and that's a recipe for success up front on the defensive line. And those guys have been playing very well up until this point this season and even last season. And we're definitely going to have a challenge this week, but it's a good challenge, and that's what we live for on the offensive side of the ball, especially up front. And it's going to be a fun one for sure.
They're pretty standard, right? I mean, four-man front, not a lot of blitzes. Is that accurate?
As far as what we've seen so far this week, yeah, they have. They tend to line up a lot in base front and see if you can play ball with them, and it's a fun mentality to go into a football game like that. And we're excited for the opportunity. It's a lot similar to Michigan State. It's one of those games that you have that you look forward to and that you're excited about, and you got to bring your A game because the guys across from you are going to be doing that as well.
Right. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, Mike. Just curious, how much have you gone up against Jay Hayes in practice since maybe spring?
Well, I had gone up against him quite a bit in the springtime, and then at the beginning of fall camp, and then he had a little injury with his ankle, and he's come back a lot the last 2 weeks, but just the normal amount, I guess, the last 2 weeks, and since he's been healthy, yeah, it's been the normal amount.
How would you sort of describe him as a defensive end?
He's a good player. He plays hard. He's got a high motor. He's got a lot of energy that he brings to the defense, and Jay's a great guy. He's infectious to the rest of the team. Guys love Jay. He's funny. He brings a lot of life to our football team, and he's the same way on the field. He plays very, very hard. He's a big guy, rushes hard, and he gives guys some fits up front, and he'll continue to get better, and we need him to continue to get better.
Yeah, what's the challenge of blocking a guy who's coming at you off the edge at 285 pounds?
Well, every rush is different. Jay kind of gives you a different look up front each time. He can give you the bull, or he can give you a couple things with his hands and move around you. And it's just a challenge of reacting to the rush that you get in terms of a 285-pound guy, because they tend to have a little bit more in their repertoire, because they have they can build a lot of things off of power rushes. So it's just a matter of seeing what's in front of you, reacting, and then playing football with the technique that you've been coached to do so many times.
Thanks.
Mike, you guys obviously have been explosive in the passing game. I know this NC State defense stops the run very well. In the running game, what do you guys need to do to continue to improve in that facet?
I think we've done a pretty solid job across the board on offense, but teams have thrown some things at us that we needed to block a little bit better. I think the consistency, just each and every play, is what we're searching for, both run and pass game, especially up front. We got to, when it comes down to when teams give us the looks that we want, we have to be able to execute on that look, and we can't have any letdowns. And we need to continue to have that across the board, no matter what the play is called. And we're going to continue to get better at that. And it's just one of those things that our offense has taken a new shape, and there's certain things that we've been very successful at, and there's certain things that teams just aren't letting us do. And we have to find other avenues to score points, and we've done a pretty good job with that. But teams know that we're going to try to run the ball, and they tend to put a lot of people in the box, and it's a matter of when those looks come that we really like. It's about executing our job to the best of our ability.
How much of that is also just time when you have three new starters, as far as, getting together as a group and feeling more comfortable? And how much more comfortable do you feel as an offensive line group now than maybe at the beginning of the season?
Well, I think that's the biggest battle. It's about growing and continuing that cohesiveness the entire year, week to week, and we've certainly gotten a lot better with playing together and playing 5 guys on 5 jobs at a time, and we're going to continue to do that. We haven't done it quite to the manner we would have liked to so far this year, but that's football. You're going to continue to have your lumps, and it's about how you learn from them. And obviously, we came in a little bit more inexperienced than last year when we started at this season. We had, I think, over 100 starts between 3 different guys last year, and it's one of those things that you just got to learn on the fly. And guys and the 3 of the guys that have been playing this year have done a very good job with that. And it's a learning curve, and new guys tend to take a little bit more time, and it's going to come. We just got to keep chipping away at it.
Mike, for you on game days, do you have any sort of superstitions that you have done since you got here at Notre Dame, or you've been doing your whole life?
Well, I guess I always call my mom. I have to talk to my mom before I get on the bus to go to the stadium. That's one of my superstitions, I guess, if you call that a superstition. And then I have one less. I listen to the same song each time before I get off the bus since I've been a starter at Notre Dame, and it's "Thunderstruck" by AC/DC. It's the last song that I go with before I walk into the stadium.
Thank you.
Mike, in terms of the run game, are you guys seeing more guys in the box typically than last year? Are you seeing kind of more muddled looks for the run game?
We have. Guys, based off of our film from last year and then what we try to do this year, guys are quick to trigger to come down into that box and limit the plays that would have been 10 to 12. A safety comes down and it's a 5 or 6 yard gain instead of a 10 to 12 one. But there's other times that, we haven't had we've had a look that we would have liked, and we didn't execute the way we wanted to. And it's just the way that we got to keep growing. And no matter what the look is in front of us, we got to be on our guy, and the rest will take care of itself. I'm pretty confident that we'll continue to grow, and we've been doing a better job with that as the season's gone on. we've been better each week, and there's certain things that defenses do that just sometimes you got to take a different approach to how you score points, and that's what we've been doing a great job of this year. I mean, we've been putting a lot of points on the board and a lot of yardage all over the field, and if teams want to load the box up, we got a lot of athletes on the outside of the field and a hell of a quarterback that'll throw it over their heads. So, and we've done a pretty good job with that.
I guess, do you anticipate defenses changing that at some point where, they're only going to allow themselves to get beat deep so many times before they start leaving safeties back there, and then I would assume the running game becomes a little bit easier?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have an offense that it can beat you in a lot of different ways, and we're very fortunate up front because it makes our job a lot easier when it comes down to that. And teams obviously are you have to control the line of scrimmage in order to win the football game, and we will continue to grow and do that. And teams on defense are worried and have been worried a little bit about what we've been doing up front over the last couple of years, and they don't want to let us continue to do that. And we've taken a little bit different of an approach this year, and eventually teams are going to have to adjust to that as well, and we'll be ready for that just as we were the rest of the year. Yep.
Mike, one last thing, and I'm not asking you to say whether you're going to leave after this year or come back, unless, of course, you want to volunteer that information. But when you came here, when you were recruited by Harry Heastand in the program, did you come into it with the mindset that it's going to be a 5-year process?
Yeah, I did, and it's going to be a 5-year process. I have 19 games left here, and that's what I fully intend to take on. And I have a lot left to learn. I'm not ready to go anywhere. I have the best in the business coaching me each and every day, and it's to my benefit and to stay here and learn from him. And there's nothing that I can do to want to change that. I have no intention of wanting to change that. I haven't played. I mean, I've played a lot of football so far, but I have a lot left to accomplish, and I know I'm not going to put myself in a position where to go somewhere when I'm not fully ready to. And I'm fully confident that I will be ready at some point, but I don't think it'll be after this season.
Well, since you volunteered that, what if the projections were? What if the projections started to resemble what Ronnie Stanley's projections were?
I don't know. I don't really pay attention to all that. It's not going to come down to a projection for me. It's going to come down to a mindset and a look in the mirror of whether or not I am ready to go. And based off of what I'm feeling now, I'm pretty confident that I'll be back here for a 5th year. And it's not any major decision or groundbreaking decision. I fully intended to do that when I first got to college. And like I said, I have so much left to learn here, and it's not going to come down to projections or potential money that I can make. It's because if I'm good enough at the point when I feel ready to do it, I'll do it. And those projections will come reality at some point when it's my time to be ready to do that.